farm. I hope you're enjoying this fine morning. And today I want to give you a brief update on what's been happening with the spring garden. We've been real busy trying to keep up with the grass growth and the garden and the animals, but I just want to update you on what's going on and how some of our experiments are coming along. And hope you'll come with me, and maybe you'll learn something, and maybe you'll have something to share with us. So this morning I'm planting my tomato plants. We have had some cool days and nights, and days in the 60s and nights in the 40s, and now it's going to start warming up, so I think it's going to be a good time to plant these tomatoes. These are health kick tomato plants that I've grown, and you can see I've got some nice plants to start with. I'm planting the tomato plants pretty deep because the stems on the tomatoes can also grow roots out from the stem and help support the plant. Now I have put 2 shovelfuls of compost at each spot where I want to plant tomatoes. So I'm going to mix that in a little bit. And I'm going to loosen these roots up a little bit. Last year I planted my first tomatoes in cool soil, and I'm trying not to make that mistake this year because last year they got off to a really slow start. Finally they turned around and I got good tomatoes, but I'm trying to do better this year. You may remember from a previous video that I made this little raised bed to try to keep these plants where the voles could not get to them, because I had lost several lettuce and cabbage plants to voles destroying them. So this seems to be working out okay. And you can see that the lettuce in this little squat pot hasn't done quite as well as what is in the garden. So that's what I don't like about using containers for growing plants. For me, I can always do better in the open garden, but I was trying to avoid the voles that were destroying my plants. So I've already taken 1 head of lettuce out of this pot, and it was good, so we get a little bit from this. Day before yesterday, I planted 4 cucumber plants right here at this trellis. And you can see that one of those has already been destroyed. Then over on this side, I've had 2 squash plants that I planted day before yesterday, and you can see that one was destroyed. And this one here has also been destroyed. So I'm assuming that's voles. Down a little bit further here, got a few potatoes along the way, but This is where I first put plants that the voles were destroying, but I have got 2 lettuce plants that made it, and these cabbage here are still alive, although they don't seem to be thriving there. The garlic is getting close to be ready for harvest. The garden bed looks really good. The potatoes and the corn I planted between the potatoes, they're coming along very well so far. Then over here on the other side, across from the potato garden, I've got this garden preparing for sweet potatoes, and my plants are almost ready to go here. So as soon as I can, I'm also going to plant sweet potato plants. The strawberries look healthy and they're starting to ripen some. And I think I will have a more in-depth video on strawberries in the future to let you know how this method turned out this year. Getting some asparagus from the spring garden now, so that always is nice to have in the early spring. And then here are our Jerusalem artichokes that I left in the ground last year, thinking that I would thin them out and replant in other areas. And I did get this little spot here thinned out and took some plants to another area, but I have run out of time, so I'm just going to see what happens with these that are growing so close together this year and see how that turns out. And over here beside the Jerusalem artichoke, I've got a spot ready to plant more corn, and the plants are almost ready. I trimmed this bed with the weed eater and cut down the growth very low, and now I'm going to make some rows here to put the corn plants in. I planted oregano plants in this bed here. We had quite a bit of bark left from Larry working on wood, and it doesn't do too good in our stove, so he sets that aside, and I didn't want to just waste it, so I cut down the cover crop here, and then I put down leaves, and then I put the bark on top of that to see if that would make a good garden bed. So we'll also see how that does. I have these sweet potatoes that came from last year's garden, and you can see they're growing sprouts on them now. These are, some people call blue sweet potatoes and some call them purple. But I'm going to put them in the soil here, cover them up, and these sprouts will grow and they'll make plants that I can plant in the garden this year to grow sweet potatoes. The Covington sweet potatoes grow very well in the window in the house. Just break off the sprouts and put them in a jar of water and they'll grow very well. But these blue sweet potatoes don't grow well that way. Springtime, everything's green and growing, so it makes it a little difficult to keep up. But it's good to see the green grass again for the animals. And that is all I have for you today. I wish you happy gardening, and I hope you have a great day, and thanks for watching.